First time here for me this week. Weather hasn't been too nice, but the bees are out and they're flying a little. Well, there's a few of them out. You can see it. Pick that one up. Looking forward to the start of spring. Get back there, come on. Check on these ones. I've literally just got here. There's been a bit of a sudden downpour on the way up. So any bees that are out on orientation flights, it'll be enough. Or out on cleansing flights, because they don't pee or poo in the hive. It'll be enough to knock them off their wing. So you lose a few in bad weather. What you can do. Look, this one's dragging that bee out. It's an undertaker bee. Let me just see if I can turn the screen around. See, you're trying to pull it out. So to get rid of the dead inside the hive, I'm going to help it. Because it's painful to watch. But they've been busy. Pull these ones out. You may get, well you do obviously because you've just seen them, but you'll get bees that will die inside the hive. If they're only outside of the cluster in the winter, they'll just drop, or they'll go so cold where they just can't move anymore and they'll drop to the bottom of the hive. So you'll get undertaker bees on a nice day when it's a little bit warmer and it can move around a bit. They'll start to take the bees out. So while I'm here, I'm just going to help them a little bit. I'm going to take all the lids off while the weather's nice today. The sun's shining. I'm going to let a bit of air blow through the colony and just check the bottoms, check them for their food stores and see if they need anything. If I get a chance, I've got a tripod with me, but if I get a chance I'll let you see inside. I don't really want to mess around too much with them unless I really see something that I need to have a look at. But for me, these are okay. They're on 3 seams, or 4 seams actually, because they're down in this one as well. There's a few straggling around in here, but I'm not going to open them or part the frames because I don't want to break that cluster. While this one is open, I'll just quickly show you. I feed them straight onto the frames if need be, but the lid is insulated. There's 50mm Celotex in that lid. These are all the same. So I either use, on a national, I use a super or a neek, smaller reek, and I'll just insulate the roof. So what I can do, even in a wet, windy, rainy day, I can just lift that lid, put my hand in, drop some feed on, and it's straight on top of the frames, directly above the cluster. There's no split in the cluster above the crown board, half of them up, half of them below, or anything else, but they're all the same. What I can also do while this one's open is just burn off anything that shouldn't be there. I can dry the lids, I can inspect them, make sure that there's no water getting in or has been getting in, and I can just check the top of the box out properly. Of course, between each box, got some water there, so I'm cleaning obviously my hive tool, which is hanging off me at the minute with a magnet. This one here, it's got a little small feeder rim that I put on, and again, it's just insulation in the lid. Lid sits straight on top. So there's a couple down here. There's a few I can see in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seams there. And I think this has possibly grown a little bit, but they may have just moved up so I can see them more in the frames. And this one, it was a large colony, and I've kind of moved things around a little bit, but I've left these two empty. I was going to put some Celotex in there, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to see if they survive on their own, and they have, because this is pretty much glued in here. So when I split them before, or at least cracked the frames open before, they've sealed themselves back in again, so I'm happy to leave that as it is. Now this one, which is the third one along from the right, just for my own mind, it's quite full. They're on all the seams down through there, and they're trying to build inside the lid. I've taken the lid off first on this one, just so I knew that when I cleaned it anyway. Lid always comes off first. Cleaned it out first, just in case I needed to put it back on again in a hurry. So that's already been done. But these ones, that is one strong colony to come out of winter. And they're looking good. Now this one here, which is the fourth one along, so I'm not missing any for you. They did have a feed which was the size of that packet, really. So it was probably a third of the packet. I am just putting these on the ground, but I'm just going to clean up after. So I've got one, they're milling around in here, they're just mapping it out, I think, coming up with a plan, see what they've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 seams these ones are in, and they're all looking well for what I can see. Again, I'm not going to open them up, but I'm just going to stick a torch on here, get my flame on there just to clean these corners out a little bit, try not to disturb the bees a great deal if I can help it. I just want to clear them out, really. Some will say they're not doing any harm, some would say, why are you even opening your hives? But I don't really want these to be here. Right, that's them dealt with, the bees can deal with the rest. But look at this, if I can find it. Wax moth. So that also is going to be dealt with. These bees here are feeding on the tops of these frames. It's too early for them to be filling it, so there's still food in there, and there's plenty of food for them. This one, which is the 5th one along now, I can't see any numbers. These nukes have got numbers on the front, but I can't see them, so I can't quite remember. I don't have any notes with me for the numbers, so I'm just doing this for myself, really. These are empty. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seams, and none down in there. So again, this is a nice little colony to come out with, for that to grow. And they do seem to be doing what you'd expect them to do, really. That little wax moth larvae didn't pass the flame test, so unfortunately it is no more. Again now, 6 from the end. Where's the corner? There's a little bit of damp getting in this corner here, so what I tend to do with that, just for these corner seams, is take a little wax off the top of the combs and just push it in, and it just helps to fill that hole. Not the end of the world. And I'd imagine if this wasn't insulated, the heat from the hive that the bees produce would dry that anyway. Right, so they've had no smoke yet. I've decided to just leave the straps off for now, and I can do all those slow time later on. But look at those. Now they're very nice, and I'm very pleased to see them. Again, this is what they were fed from a slab or a packet. Feeding on this side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seams. They're quite responsive. Happy with that. 6 out of 6 so far. This one here sadly won't make it to the spring because she's just stung me, and I've just taken 2 more in the back of my left leg. So these ones are obviously defensive because it's still winter and I shouldn't really be in here, but it kind of gives me a little bit of a heads up on my management for the start of the spring, and even for now really, because I know that I don't need to worry about putting any fondant in, and then the transfer from the nuke into a colony into a hive can just be fed, or they can just move straight in, and then I'll just put a 1-to-1 syrup on there just to let the young stuff grow, develop and start building out comb. I've just cracked the lid already and I've smoked them already. Wow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seams there on, and they're starting to build on that lid. So these pretty much are just ready for spring to come along. This just had a little bit of fondant set in the centre of there, and I do find as well, if I put it on the edge, it'll collect any condensation on the inside. It doesn't necessarily drip off and do anything harmful to them because, well, you can see what it's done underneath there. Nothing. But that little bit of condensation just gives them a little bit of moisture, a little bit of water, I find. But these are packed in there now, and I can't quite decide if that sting on the back of my leg, or those 2 stings on the back of my leg, is just one sting, which is catching myself twice in the material, or if it's a bramble, because it doesn't seem to be doing a great deal at the moment. And they're responsive, they're looking at my finger, so they're not just sitting there doing nothing really. And they are coming out to see me too, so I'm happy with that. I don't want to shake the bees too much and get them all up in the air, because that's just unnecessary really. So I've put that back in as it is, or as it was. I'm just waiting for these to come off the rim. They will walk upwards. Once they come off the rim, I'll put the frame back on again. That wasn't the frame, it was an eek. But anyway, next one along. They're starting here, they're low down in this frame. I don't really think you'll be able to see it, to be honest. They're in here. I don't know if that'll help. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seams they're in. They've built these obviously together. responding. I have smoked them down though before I took the lid off, because I knew it was a rather large colony. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can see a bit more down here now. See, with this one, which is the next one along, the lid is wet inside. But I think to dry it out isn't going to do anything, because I'm just going to be drying the surface, and the rest of it, that's between the top of the wood and the underside of the cover, is just going to seep through again. So I'll know next time just to bring another lid up with me and swap that one out, take that away and dry it off. So with this one again is the next one along. I've just put that in there with two hands. Can't quite see my screen. I've just cracked the lid. I haven't opened it yet, but they want to come out quick, so I'm just going to quickly smoke them down. That really didn't do a great deal, except let them out. Again, they've had what would have been a third-ish of a packet, just folded over. So they are down here, 1, 2, 3, and they are deep down in the bottom there. So 4 seams, I want to say maybe 3. Probably, if I count from the bottom up, it might just be 2 seams if they were measured. But there is still honey in here. They've got food, it's just on the outside edge. And there's still capped stores in there. And there's enough of it. Well, that one's full of it still, or as much as I can see looking down through. So again, another one doing well, albeit small. This colony has a board on it, a crown board left on, but the lid is still insulated, and I think that's because there wasn't a feeder rim around the edge. I need to look back, which is one of the benefits of doing these videos really, because I can look back on them. They're nice bees. So again, I don't want to disturb them much. I'm not sure what this is. I think that might be the bag. That I had the feed in. This is quite possible. Again, I want to look back for that. And they've just tried to get it out, and they've dragged it down the frames. I'll leave the bees on there for the minute because they'll weigh it down. I don't think it's a skin of anything, so I'll need to look back. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They're in 10 seams. This is a big colony. There's a super on the bottom, which is the same as this one here. So all being well, they've moved out of the super and they're up now in the brood box. If you look back, you'll see the layout for what it was. So the next time I'm in here, I'll be able to take that super off the bottom, and then they can just carry on building the nest in this box, the top box, which is the brood box, and then I can move them away from that and just let them grow. You'll hear the farmer in the background with his tractor. Let's have a quick look. Nothing wrong with them. This was a strong colony. It's one that we acquired. There's another keeper in the branch who gave up 3 of his colonies. This is one. That one there is the second, and there's another one which is going to be our, well, it's going to be a queen rearing colony. It's going to be the cell builder for queen cells. I've just taken the plastic and put it in my box, or just on the top of my box at the minute, because I want to take it home and just have a look at that proper. But I'm pleased with them. I took them off the edge. You should really drop it down diagonally so the wood has got less contact on 4 edges or 4 corners as the overlap. But there's not a lot going to happen there. He'll go back down through there. And that's another one done. Now this is the angry corner. I've just smoked them down. Smoker billowing away. Excuse the spade, I've left that there from the last time I was doing something here. Oh, it is in my throat though. They've gone down, and there's a lot coming out the entrance. They're going back in as well, so they're at the bottom of the nest, really. So they're down in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seams. So as soon as the weather comes nice, or becomes a little bit warmer and we're more into spring, these are going to be thinking, we need to leave this nest, we're going to swarm. So it is helping me by doing this, and it is a benefit to do it now. I'm just leaving that there because they're happy with it being there, and it's not affecting them at all. And if there is any moisture on the underside, then they can get it. So to do this now does give me a heads up of which colonies are the largest and which colonies I need to balance with which other colonies. I do need to inspect them all proper though before I swap any frames to balance a colony out, because what I don't want to do is put a disease from this colony, if they do have any, into another. But at the moment, from what I can see, they're all looking fine. Now it's difficult to say none of my colonies have any disease or there's anything wrong with them, because just from looking at something you can't really tell. But what I am going to do is, as these bees are here now, I'm going to go and get a little pot and take a sample of these bees, and I want to just check when I get back the contents of their stomach under a microscope and see what's going on inside. So I've just taken the lid off this colony, which is the last one of the red strap, red for danger, because they're an angry bunch, and there's a queen wasp hibernating in the lid, but not for long. Now if there's one colony I don't want it to be in, it's this one. I have just cracked the lid to an almighty roar, so I'm going to smoke them down, give them a few minutes to settle, then I'll take the lid off. Well, I haven't given them a few minutes because that didn't seem to be as bad as I thought it may have been. but I have smoked them down. They're all off the edge here. Now this colony we acquired because someone had taken on obviously a hive with bees, and they were allergic to stings, so they've reacted badly to some stings and they've had to get rid of the bees. So she had a bee inspector out, or a seasonal bee inspector, who's a member of our branch, and he went and had a look and said that they were a little bit feisty. So I then went and picked them up. So I'm hoping this season they'll have a bit of a different temperament, because what some people will do and suggest is that you take out the queen, snuff her, and then you let them either requeen themselves, or you drop in a queen of your own that you know is of a gentle trait. I'm hoping to do none of that and just let them settle themselves down. Now these, I would say, aren't the same bees when I first picked them up. Looking at them now, and if you look at one of the first videos in our list of videos, you'll see that they're the angry colony, or an aggressive colony, I think I may have called them. They wouldn't be doing this from before. There's a couple there that were quick to get onto me. Sun's dropped a little bit. The temperature has dropped slightly. I can feel it myself, but it is still warm. And I've had one of them just poo on the front of my veil, which isn't very nice. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Looking at your screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 frames. They're down. Again, there's a box underneath, which is the brood box on this colony. Kind of glued in. You can see the brood box down at the bottom. This is a super, so they've had lots of food in here. I need to be a bit gentle and careful because the queen's going to be up here, and I don't want to spook them or have them spook me and quickly close it up. Just looking at the wings on that one in the centre. They have had a treatment for varroa, but just herbivore strips, I think they were, from the guy, or the lady, sorry, that we got these from. I'm thinking of the other box over the other side there. So they're looking nice, and they're looking ready to go into spring. I am going to take this off though, because I think if they're going to be building wax comb soon, they're going to just glue that down. But that for up here is 12 out of 12. Happy with that. Right, so I'm going to just leave them for a little while, let them settle, adjust. I'm going to have myself a coffee and I'm going to put all the straps back on. I'll clean the lids off and then put all the straps back on, and then that'll be me done. So I've got my sample of bees here. I took a sample of, but there's not many in there really. I did take a sample of bees home once and put them all out, and they looked as if they were suffering themselves from the cold, but when they became warm they all came alive. So these ones will go straight in the freezer, and then either this evening or tomorrow maybe I'll sit and look, see what's inside their stomach. Some too will say, well, why have you done that? It's not necessary. Well, we all manage bees differently, and we all have different ideas, different time scales, time frames if you like, for when our season will start. Now me, I'm going to be making queens, or queen rearing my own queens. So I need to come up with a plan. I need to see how strong these colonies are and my other colonies. I need to see which colonies from here that I may want to take down and put into my mating apiary, and which ones I want to select for drones to mate with. Queens in the local area from other keepers around me, and also my own queens when they get up in the air, because I'm hoping to be able, and I'm sure I did last year, dominate the local area with my drones, so that eventually, although you do get a bit of inbreeding, you'll breed it out eventually. It'll phase out, so it's not just the short-term fix. It's kind of long-term really, because you've got to wait for it to come back round again. So I'm just trying to select my own bees for breeding, and obviously queen rearing, selling good stock for myself, and obviously the benefit of the bees, so they can survive. It's better to have local adapted bees, I think, that suit the climate. And this year, from last and the year before, these ones do. Because this is Dartmoor, and we're not necessarily in the middle of Dartmoor, but it's still cold. And if these were, I think, first strain bees from elsewhere, different climates, I don't think they'd be as strong, and they may not have gone through the winter. So I need to look back as well on what I've done to see what my interference, if any, has had, or what impact my interference, if any, has had on them. Whether or not it's just because they're sheltered, whether or not it's because they've just been left alone, whether or not it's because they're insulated, whether or not they've had a little bit of feed but not a great deal, but not all of them have either, because they've had their own. And I can hear something buzzing. I think it's something on my back. So it's not just a case of putting bees in a box and just watching what goes on. That colony at the end, the angry colony, the aggressive bees, they're totally different to what they were. Now I know they're clustered, but today they're not, and if anything they're a bit more relaxed than they've ever been, and I've never seen them like that before, and that's nice to see. That's quite refreshing and reassuring for me, really. So I need to look at what colonies are the nice colonies, what colonies have survived, what colonies have trapped themselves or built up a resilience to mites, any disease that the colonies may have had and have fixed themselves. A few more things as well, what forage, how available they are, how good they are to forage, whether they bring back enough food or surplus food, and just see how they behave really. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing this year. And I am going to be splitting these because some of these are ready to swarm, so I'm going to help them with that. And from one colony I'll make 2, from those 2 colonies I'll make another 2, and put my young queens in that I select. So the genetics from the drones and the queens go into those new colonies. That's the plan anyway. But if you've managed to watch this the full length, thank you very much. We've kind of done it together, so stick around and drop a few comments at the bottom if you want to. Thank you very much.